Assalamu alaikum. Hello and welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club race qualifier number 1 on the 1st of May. My name's Matt Payne and I'll be putting words to all of the race action today. We've already seen today a really exciting and action-packed qualifier race in the men's competition. Our women's promises to be just the same, with an absolutely stacked field of riders competing across 35 kilometres of course. A familiar course to many, with it being the qualifier number 1 and the finale of the April block of racing. And it heads up today with the course covering the 35k initially, sector number 1 in town. Very steep, lumpy, bumpy sections, which are going to really test the riders' attacking skills. The dune sections number 2 between 6 and 9k, unrelenting, real roller coaster ride. It eases off a little bit as we go through sector number 3. But we then finish with the mountaintop finish going up the Jebel Hafid, and our climb up there, taking us up to the 35-kilometer mark. Along the way, we have 7 segments. Each segment is a way that we can tell who's riding quickly, who's recovering well, who's maybe challenging. Total elevation is 704 meters across the total of 35k. But each segment on the way through, varying from 2 kilometers right the way to 4 kilometers as our riders progress through the course. And we'll be catching up with who's moving fast, who's a mover and shaker right up and in there. Now, it is a stacked women's field that's taking this on. In our category 1, watch out for Las Colombianas, so one of the real strong squads, with Dorothy Gonzalez Rey and Sora Giraldo both are looking to take on the Spartan obstacles. The one and only Elizabeth Van Heuling, Carolina Quevedo and Gemma Brogan in that strong. And the strong will squad, well, Lisa Brommel, Faye Faber, Lydia Adlin and Fiona Schroeder. Don't forget, of course, that we also have Rebecca Dallimore, Stefania Sanchez, Michelle Al-Kasabi and Gordon Light in the individual category. Massively stacked race field in category 1. Category 2, again, nice big field with some real class riders. Team Italy are well represented by Elvira Velham, who had a strong final. The strong women's team, well, that is Maria Santiago this time round. Team RT Cycle Zone and Ladies 1. Watch out for Conan and Tan, the 2 strong riders there, but they're going to be back to quality teammate as well in Hadlock. Then, of course, Team Fitness 10 with Carmona and Elodie Arena Gaviria also in the squad. And then Slam Bike Shop Team 1, Leslie Ann Cordera, Gina De Garcia. We've got Munoz and Herrera in there, all able to challenge the top of the standings. And of course, category 3. And this is another packed race field. Lots of our individuals in here. Watch out for Kokin, Tandigan, Cole, Barco, and Poulton. Pasitas, well, watch out for Laura Chaligan and Velasquez. Watch out in the climate girls. We've got Giuliano, Girardo, and Galeo, and Freitas, Sanguid, and Nicole Lustri from the Slam Bike Shop Team 2 round out that field. A packed field. Not sure who my money's on today, because this is the first qualifier and this is key. You've got to finish. We have seen riders already today taking it maybe a little easier than normal, and other riders really giving it big beans on the way in. Now, for those of you who maybe haven't watched before, the screen very similar to that you get if you download the app. Make sure you go onto the App Store, download the app onto your iPhone or similar, and then get jumping on the bike. Loads of data for you to look at. Top left of your screen, these are the riders' stats. These are the key things for the rider. What speed they're doing, how long they've been riding, and of course, how far they've gone. The watts, that's how much power they're producing. The watts per kilo, that is how many watts per kilo of body weight. You've got the pedal revs of 97, for example, here, and a heart rate of 128. We're watching Lisa Brommel at the moment. The numbers, the black numbers of the watts, that will change to green if she's drafting. It will change to black if there's not in draft. Top right-hand side, this is all about our course. We've got meters climbed, calories burned, average speed. We've got how far down the course we are, and of course the map view as well. Far right-hand side, block down the side of the screen, and that is the riders we're watching in with Elodie Reynard at the moment, who's highlighted in red. You can see she's currently sitting in 10th out of the 30 riders on that start list. The riders in front and behind all numbered, with the time gaps down the side and the watts per kilo. Our category 1 riders are in yellow, 2 in green, and 3 in blue. And our riders away with Brommel leading them out from the gate. Elodie Reynard in the green of category 2. Riding for that Team Fitness 10, but you can just see the front of the group already kicking in, and it is a brutal start here on MyWhoosh for the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club Women's Race. Straight into the climbs and straight into the big kicker up onto the elevated roadway, and the riders are well and truly spread out. Now, just seeing Golden Light pushing up on here. Kekkonen gone up onto the front. Van Heuling alongside. Familiar names if you've been watching the coverage of the April races. Don't forget you can go back and watch all of those races on the MyWhoosh channel. Make sure you click subscribe as well and get notified every time we go live with the race action on MyWhoosh on the Sunday Race Club. Our big hitters up here. Elizabeth Van Heuling, multiple time winner. Lydia Adlin, regular at the front of the racing. Brommel, the same. Golden Light, the same. Brogan, the same. Gonzalez Roy, the same. Really is a regular cast up here now of riders who we know can walk the walk and talk the talk, can really do the business. In the mix is Kekkonen in the green jersey at the front. A rider definitely to watch out. Gemma Brogan just sitting in the back of that group, seeing Fernanda Hernandez just coming up and joining that group as well. And these riders are working well, go over the top. They're going to pick up in terms of speed as they drop down, but our leading group already starting to break the pack apart. We get our first indication of where they are out on the course. They're going to hit segment number 1 out sort of 1 kilometre in. It is a 1 kilometre segment, so 2 kilometres in, sorry, so it's from 2k to 3 kilometres, and that will give us the indication. Here we go, just because I can't read, we're going to put it up on the screen so you can. So it is a 1 kilometre long segment number 1 between 2 and 3k. This will give us a good indication of who is riding well in group number 1. As we move through, those segments get longer as we move further into the course. First 2 at 1k, then 2.5k. We have a 1k, then a 2, 3.5, and finally a 4k as we go on the climb. Our leading group at the moment have an 8-second gap on the chasers behind. Leslie Ann Cordera and Lutz Kimona trying to close down the gap. We can just see we're in with Hadlock, who's in this group as well. Angela Ann Hadlock in here with Stephanie Gaviria trying to close in on the group in front, which are on the left of your screen. The distance is less than 100 meters at the moment between the riders, about 950 meters on the course. They've got to get this back together quickly in group 2, because otherwise that gap will open. But this first group are very, very strong indeed, containing a lot of the big hitters in category 1. So the ride well underway, 1.7 underneath the wheels for Van Heuling on the left of your screen, 1.8 now, 1.7, so just under that 100-meter mark behind to Elodie Reynard. Reynard, a really good performance in the qualification race and in the money final, the big prize money final that comes up at the end of the month. This month we have 4 qualifiers and 1 final. That will be coming at the end of May because of the way that the dates fall this month. So extra bonus qualifying race. Group 2 just hitting the start of that segment as they come through. You can just see the difference on the road between them. It's about 100 meters or so at the moment as they go through. So that gap not increasing hugely at the moment. So the leading group, Kekkonen, Golden Light, Brommel, Adlin, Gonzalez Rey, Adlin looking strong in there, Brogan in there, Hernandez in that mix. Group number 2, Elodie Reynard looks like we've also got in that group Cordero in the group of Shazmi goes in. We're going to have Jenny Tan a little bit further back. That's unusual to see. And Fiona Schroeder. Schroeder, really strong rider, trying to chase behind. Here we are, just jumped in with Fiona Schroeder. Great rider and really strong. She's got some good company, though. Jenny Tan in there and Erin Poulton as well. So some strong riding by these 3. Could see them close down the gap. Fiona Schroeder improving race on race, and we're going to see if she can pull out all the stops. Be warned, though, we have a number of riders who have decided that after last week's efforts on the prize money final, today is going to be a steadier ride in. It's on the same course, they know this well, but most people riding for pride, riding for the team competition and riding for the individual competition as well. Absolutely critical to get both if you want to be up there dominating the racing. Now, here we go into the end of checkpoint of segment number 1. Let's see how fast they're going and just who is looking good. We can compare the heart rate, the watts, as well as the time through. So here on MyWhoosh, segment number 1, Golden Light having the fastest time through there, but working quite hard here, 169 the heart rate. Look at the watts, 208. Lisa Brommel, same number of watts, 208 watts, 139 her beats per minute. But Brommel, a more powerful rider. You can see that translated in the size difference because of the watts per kilo, 4.2 watts per kilo for Golden Light. Brommel sitting at 3.3. In fact, some real low heart rates there. Looks like Dorothy Gonzalez Ruiz just still getting out of bed at 87 beats per minute. Most people, when they get out of bed, they start moving, they just about hit that. It looks like she's being very careful not to go too hard too soon. But great to see those times absolutely being flying through there at the moment. So quick a time through, a 1:42.461 for our leader, Golden Light. But immediately behind, you can see a real who's who, Van Heuling, Quevedo, Brommel, and co. going through the ride there. Gemma Brogan in the group here as well. And Brogan taking second place in the competition in the final last week. So clearly on some good form at the moment. Quevedo was third, Van Heuling fourth over the line. Catherine Fure, she's not with us today. She's in fifth place, Faye Faber in sixth. But these riders looking very good at the moment as they try and stay well clear of the riders behind. Just coming into our next sprint segment. This next segment going through, this gives us the time checks. This is between 4 and 5 kilometers, so another 1,000-meter segment. This will take us around the U-turn down here on the boulevard as we take that left-hand turn. You can see the gap between these riders is not much still, sitting currently at about 17 seconds between Group 1 and Group 2. Group 1 containing Kekkonen, the leading rider in the Category 2 competition. You can see on the left of your screen, Leslie Ann Cordera in the competition on the right-hand side. Kekkonen, a regular up at the top. She was 13th in the last race and was very, very strong, but only took 4th place in the second category prizes. In terms of second category prizes, it was Rebecca Dallimore, a Category 2 rider who's now moved up to Category 1, who took top spot, with Julie Sanchez in second. And then it was Elodie Reynard in third, Kekkonen in fourth, Kimona in fifth, and Herrera in sixth place. That was the last time out on the same climb, which was the final of the April competitions. But at the moment, our group's settling down very quickly after those initial rises and climbs. But there's still plenty more climbing to go. Don't worry, we've got lots of more places where this action is going to break, where the riders can put each other under pressure, and where we're going to see the stronger riders come to the fore. And it's about now conserving energy, making sure that you don't burn too much energy too soon, but at the same time, maintain that gap, maintain that position within the group. So Brommel, Adeline, Gonzalez are a rear, along with Golden Light. It's going to be Hernandez, Kekkonen, and Quevedo, Brogan, and this group as they come through segment number 2. And this will give us a good indication of what time we've got. So our leading group at the moment is 9 riders strong. So Gonzalez are going through, leading them through a 0.128 of a second quicker than Lisa Brommel. Then it's Novelin Kekkonen in third, Lydia Adeline in fourth, Gemma Brogan in fifth, Golden Light in sixth, Fernanda Hernandez in seventh. It's going to be Elizabeth Van Heuling in eighth, and then Quevedo in ninth. Behind the chasing group, led through by Michelle Hazmi ahead of Angel Ann Hadlock, and then Lutz Kimona coming through. But you can see the pace difference between them, 7 seconds quicker through that segment for group number 1 than group number 2, and that shows you just how fast this leading group of riders are moving, and it shows the importance of getting that kick from the start to be able to stay with the group. But this group 2 are doing a good ride here. They're staying clear. The chasers behind Erin Poulton and Fiona Schroeder trying to close down. So this group, Kimona, Cordera, it's going to be Javier Hadlock and Al Hazmi. At the moment, they are staying clear of the chasers behind. They are chasing the group on the left of your screen. The leaders on the route at the moment, 250 or so meters, nearly 300 meters clear of the chasers behind. And this group, which is 9 riders strong, is certainly looking like most people doing a turn of work up on the front before easing off and coming out of the way. And remember, the advantage of being in the draft, getting that green numbers on your screen means that you're not having to work as hard as anybody on the front. More riders to take the draft, less work you have to do, particularly if you happen to have somebody really strong that you can shelter behind quite a lot. So the leaders around that turn at the junction, the chase is still closing behind. Gemma Brogan on your screens at the moment, second last week. Should dearly love that top spot, I'm sure. So just watching the riders at the moment. They go into sector number 3, and look at this big kick here by Kekkonen. She quickly takes the pace up as she goes into this sector, then eases back off again. But look at Adeline come behind 5.1 watts per kilo. And this is a problem. If you kick too hard and then ease off too much, you can be distanced out of the back of the group. The key is to be really fine in terms of the application of the power and the easing off. Feathering that power, getting that pacing right is absolutely key to sitting in the draft. Sitting in wheels 2, 3, 4, generally regarded to be the best place. If you're right at the very back, it's very hard because it's easy to get dropped off the back. On the front, you're in trouble now. The leaders onto the first of these real big rises coming up over the top here, drop and rise several times more through the dunes, and you can see that pack just holding together, but it's about now pushing over the top. If somebody pushes and keeps the pressure on, they will open a gap on the downhill, and then it leaves the chasers behind with work to do, and it's very easy for riders to get caught out on the way through. We've just seen Brogan, and I think Quevedo just distanced a little bit through here because of that roller coaster golden light leading them through at the moment. Now Van Heuling, Adeline Brommel comes through, and just seeing Gonzalez Roy. So these riders up on the front, up onto the climb, the chasers behind just making contact. Now, Adeline just dropping towards the back there with the red hair, just pushes up over the top. Golden light now on the back here with the white cap and the green socks, but riding with Lydia Adeline. Adeline with the red hair and the short green socks, just dropping down the hillside here. 2 riders just a little clear, Karuk Quevedo and Lisa Brommel up on the front. So Brommel riding for the strong girls squad. We've got a teammate Adeline in here in the mix. Lydia Adeline, who are looking very strong, regular rider. She was second for a long time on this course, sitting with Van Heuling on qualification race number 1. Eventually, that power of Van Heuling cracked Adeline. Adeline went backwards, but not until after she put in a monstrously massive ride into really open the legs and lungs up, really stretched the rest of the riders. Lisa Brommel looking strong once again. Brommel, another of our regular strong riders. No surprise to see her in the mix with Van Heuling and Quevedo. You can see these positions yo-yoing and changing all the time on this course as the riders fight to just get settled into a rhythm here. And the rider who is really struggling, we've seen both our second category riders now be distanced from this group. So it looks to me like Fernanda Hernandez and Novelin Kekkonen are now distanced from the leading group. They are sat in no man's land between our leaders and the chasing group behind. So we're in with Kekkonen. You can see the leaders in front. It's only about 10 seconds, but 10 seconds can be a world of difference as you come up and over. And this is where Kekkonen's got to stay strong. She's got to chase really hard. The rider in front, Hernandez, is pushing her. Novelin Kekkonen pushes hard. Really impressed with this rider over the last few weeks. Really digging in strong no matter what the terrain has done, and really has been one of our real stars of the category 2 racing. At the moment, it looks like she's got Hernandez in front, which means that she's in second position in that category 2 racing. Meanwhile, Elizabeth Van Heuling, who can't fail but to impress everybody with the power and speed uphill, is leading that group, and Hernandez sandwiched in between here, between Kekkonen and those leaders. You can see them in front. It's 8 seconds to the last of those riders, but they're quickly up over the top of the crest. Still at least one more kicker to go. These seem never ending when you ride these. If you want to know how it feels, make sure you download the app and make sure that you jump on to the world's race going 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on the MyWhoosh app. You can jump in with a bot, you can jump in with a group on a MyWhoosh's ride. Of course, you can jump in and join the racing. Now, here we go. You can see the gaps going through here. The leading group going through within fractions of a second of each other. Gonzalez Ruiz setting the time of 4 minutes going through that segment. Behind, though, 9 seconds slower was Hernandez, 20 seconds slower was Conan, and this is going to play into the hands of those leading 7 riders. Once you've got that strength in depth, once you've got the group dynamics rolling, then it's about making sure you maximize that. You don't want to let the chasers stay too close, because if they come very close, then they could come past you on the hill, particularly if you have a bad time at the top and you pace it wrong. And that is why you're seeing riders like Novalinka Conan, who really can motor up this hill, looking to close that gap, keep it down to a minimum. Meanwhile, the riders on the front want to maximize that lead. At the moment, Van Heuling sitting in 6th place, just goes around the side of Brogan and Gonzalez Ruiz, quickly pushes up here. So these are your leading riders at the moment. And looks to me like Brogan just making contact, squeezing through from the back of that group to make 7. So riding in with the 7 Gemma Brogan, just making contact with the back of that group, just drifting off the back. It's really easy to lose concentration. So you only need to reach down for a water bottle at the wrong moment, maybe tap the phone or try and get the pace of change to view to have a little bit of a look behind, see where people are behind. All of our riders are able to move their views around and to use the data as much as possible. It's one of the key skill sets of riding on MyWhoosh or the in any esports discipline. Data is much more available in much more richness than you find than you would generally be able to see if you're out and riding, for example, on 2 wheels. But it's the same in all esports. That data overload can really put some riders in trouble. Other riders absolutely thrive on it. Other competitions you find that's exactly the same. It doesn't matter whether it's running, cycling, whether it's a virtual road. Data analysis whilst on the move is key, but it can distract you and you can be in trouble. Now Brogan has to put a kick in here. She's outside the draft. You can see her numbers are in the black here. She's doing 200 watts. She needs to get back into that draft. She's burning energy unnecessarily at the moment. And Brogan chasing on the left-hand side, just about to make contact here. You'll know when she gets in touch, because those numbers will go green here. She goes into the back. Now she's just sitting at the back of the pack. And this is where you don't necessarily get the best draft. The best draft sits around about positions 2, 3, 4. When you're in that group, you're behind somebody else breaking the draft, and you're not yo-yoing in and out of the draft. As we see Lisa Brummel continuing to accelerate on the front of this group, just putting them under pressure again. So Lisa Brummel not wanting to let this group have an easy time of it. And Van Heuling at the moment just dropping out of the back from the Spartan obstacle. She's the rider who's just been distanced as they come through. Quickly back into the pack she goes. But nobody wants to be the last rider in this bunch. And that is very difficult to do when everybody's trying to stay up near the front. Somebody's got to be last in the group. And they're the rider that's in danger of being spat out of the back of the pack. So here on MyWhoosh, race number 1, qualifier number 1 for May. One of 4 qualifiers with our big money final to come at the end of the month. The women's race coming in to segment number 4 of 7. Segment 4 starts at 10.1 and runs all the way through to 11.1, a 1K segment. And this really will tell us how these riders are moving. 7 riders together, and those 7 riders still holding together. Brogan still looking comfy, 125 beats per minute for her. Van Heuling, Adeline, Brommel, Cavedo, Lights, Gonzalez Ruiz comes through. That is your top 7 riders moving us through 1 minute 46 through segment 4. Behind them, the chase is on, and you can see Kekkonen and Hernandez both coming through, but Kekkonen coming through the quicker of the 2 riders in a 1:47, so almost matching the pace of the leaders. Even though she's on her own, she's almost matching the pace of the leaders, kicking out 203 watts. That heart rate still relatively low at 132. Behind her then, Hernandez working hard, 154 beats per minute, 3.2 watts per kilo in 9th place. So 7 leaders, 2 chasers. The two chasers are our leading second category riders with Novelin Kokkonen and Fernandez Hernandez. Speak of the devil, here they are. So Fernando Hernandez and Novelin Kokkonen. We're riding with Kokkonen at the moment, who can see Hernandez in front. There was about 14 seconds at one stage between these two riders. All they're going to need to do is work together on the flatter sections of the course, work together to hold that draft, to aid each other. Both riders will benefit because they need to stay clear of the chasing pack on the right of your screen. There are 5 riders, all category 2, all chasing Kokkonen and Hernandez. Carmona, Reynard, Cordera, Hasmi, all in that pack. Gaviria, all looking. They want to take top 2 spots. They want to take away the victory in the category 2 competition. They have to close the gap down on Kokkonen, on Hernandez. However, they have their work cut out. We are already hitting the 11, now 12 kilometre marker of the 35k that is this course as we come into segment number 5, a 2k long segment that will take us right the way on to 14.3 kilometres covered. And you can see our leading group still working well together. Just looking to see who's not doing too much work. Gonzalez Roy looks to be sitting at the back. We're now into that segment. And this segment number 5, we've got number 6 within this sector as well, before we move on to the big climb in that final segment that runs from 28.8 all the way to 32.8. So basically up the big hill at the end. But the hills don't just come at the end. Our leader's about to hit the big raised arch that is the bridge that lifts them up over the waterway. And this is where we're going to expect to see another push. Adeline on the front here. 5.5 watts per kilo. 6 coming from Van Heuling to respond to it. Adeline takes it steady at the moment. Van Heuling goes over the top now, wants to wind this up. She doesn't want this to drop too low. They need to probe the weaknesses of the other riders. It may be that they get the chance to shed another rider who's maybe good on a long climb, but not so good on a steep, short, sharp kicker. But at the moment, this group is looking incredibly well matched. A big group of riders, and I think if anything we're seeing a leading group of 4 with 2 just off the back here. That is Brogan and Brommel who are on the back. Behind onto this same slope goes Kokkonen. She's got Hernandez immediately behind her. She's on the ascent. As you see, our leaders now starting to the long, very gradual descent down off this long elevated roadway. And it's this pickup in speed, 46 kilometers an hour down the hill on the far side, 18k on the way up the hill. So 18 kilometers an hour by the chasers on the ascent, 37k for the leaders as they drop off the other side of the bridge level. So we have a slight kick before the descent back down to land. At the moment, the leading group with that gap, 7 riders, they have a gap back to Kokkonen, back to Hernandez, and that gap now sitting at just over the minute mark. It means that the 7 riders in the lead know that they're pretty secure, and they can focus more now on winning the race than they can on defending that lead from the riders behind. The gap's yo-yoing a little bit, showing 45, 42, 1 minute at the moment, but certainly at the moment it's not great. Hernandez and Kokkonen are probably going to have something to say about that, though, because they are continuing to push to try and keep the gap up behind. They've got every incentive to work. They could catch the group in front. They want to stay clear of the group behind. The leading group, well, they could lose the race by doing too much work in the early stages, and that is going to be preying on the mind of some of those riders as they come around this long sweeping turn. Do too much work in the race lead, and you're going to be in trouble as we go up on to the mountain. Coming up to nearly 14k of racing done. Remember, our riders will come to the end of this segment that takes us up and over the bridge at 14.3. So another 300 meters for the riders on the left of your screen, now 200 meters. Meanwhile, over 1k for the third group on the road, the second of the chasing groups. Down come the leaders in. They come in towards the end of checkpoint as the segment number 5. 7 riders together. They're going to set the time marker, and this is where we see whether Kokkonen is going to be closing with Hernandez or whether they're going to be further back. So 3 minutes, 26.572 from Carib Quevedo, the rider who was third on this climb in the big money final. Those results still unofficial on the MyWhoosh website. The verification and checks are continuing onwards. Remember, the results turn to official once all of the checks have been made and the verifications have been finished on all of the riders. So the screen on the right shows you the time gaps. Here come the chasers on the left. Great to see both screens at the same time. You can see these chasers coming down, Kekkonen coming in. Remember, the time to beat is the 3:26.572. As she comes through the checkpoint, Kekkonen is going to be the faster of the two. But look at the difference in pace. The two chasers lost 26 seconds on our leaders. And this is where, when the next group comes through, they're going to set a time. We'll see whether they're going faster than the chasers or whether they're going slower than chasers. So Group 1 occupying the places from 1st to 7th place in Segment 5. In Group 2, Kekkonen and Hernandez group, they are 26 to 27 seconds slower than the leader coming through. The chasing group, which has got Mashani and co. Here they come. This is going to be the so here we are. Hasmi comes through, and she's going to set the time here. And we're going to have a little look here. Great to see the check here. So just work your way down. First 7 with the 2. With the 7 leaders, but look now, Kekkonen has been pushed down the standings, so has Hernandez down into 13th and 14th position, and above them goes Gaviria, Reynard, Cordera, El Hasmi, and Cardona, and they travelled that segment. As they came through segment number 5, the 2 kilometres, they covered that 7 seconds quicker, nearly 8 seconds quicker than the 2 riders in front. So they closed that gap down by 7 to 8 seconds in 2K. Critical number that, because if those groups come together, if the second and third group on the road come together, look at those green jerseys. The positions from 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, and so on will all be up for grabs between these riders who are fighting it out to see who is going to take away top spot in the Category 2 racing. So really shows you why those segments are so important, to see how you're doing, how fast the riders behind are coming. A lot of the riders will ride it with their own screen rolling. They'll also have a second screen rolling with the YouTube feed, with the time checks, maybe have a third screen with the time results coming up as well, so that they have got lots of information coming in. Other people will be just riding on feel and just watching how they're doing, because basically when you're on the limit, you're on the limit, but that's not always the best move, because sometimes you can save some energy. Meanwhile, Brogan comes around the loop and goes back up on to the bridge, going to be back up on to the raised roadway, going up the reverse. And this kicker here is horrible to ride. It really does sap the strength out of your legs. And this is where we're going to see who's feeling strong in this group, who is going to put an attack in, or is it going to be a case of let's keep rolling with 16K in? They know that they've got to get to nearly 28K before they go into that climbing sector. Kekkonen and Hernandez trying to stay clear of the chasing group led by Gaviria, but the leaders at the moment left of your screen, and you can see the difference in numbers here. Gemma Brogan's at the back of the group on the climb and is currently putting out over 200 watts, nearly 300, now 400 watts, as she knows she can't let the gap go as she goes over the crest. So smart riding there by Gemma Brogan. Kicks at the last moment to minimize that gap, put some extra effort in. You could just see that leading group just accelerate up as they came on to this flatter section. They hit it first, so they get the first acceleration, a bit like if you're racing a crit race. The first rider into a corner or kermesse, you go into that corner in a town centre race. The first rider gets optimum braking, optimum acceleration, everybody behind gets slowed down. Same as you're riding on an e-cycling game. When you come over the top, the first rider accelerates away quickest. They're away from the start first. The gap will open to the second, the third, the fourth, and so on. If you're at the end of that chain, well, that delay, that time lag can be absolutely critical and can put you in real trouble. So the leaders at the moment going along the top of the bridge, Kekkonen onto the climb, gap between them at 500 meters. Nearly 600 meters between them. The time gap still a substantial one, with Kekkonen and Hernandez, the 2 leaders in Category 2 being closed down by the rest of those Category 2 riders. The Category 1 riders clear at the front, and you can just see the right of your screen, Hernandez chasing Kekkonen at the moment. So very close between these two, and they will need to work together. If they try and go solo, they're going to be in big trouble. Kokoden has got the gap at the moment. Meanwhile, Brummel diving down here with Karut Cavedo on the front. Over the top goes Golden Light and the left. See, just seeing Brummel with the dark hair go down in those gold socks. You see Adeline coming through, the red hair of Adeline. Just pushing up on the left-hand side here. Brummel comes back on the front on the right as a Golden Light comes through. And Golden Light continues to push. Everybody wants to take the front of this group. Golden Light with the white hat, with the white cotton cap on. All of these riders are pushing, all of them are working, and this is about who is not putting in too much work. We're not seeing too much from Van Heuling, we're not seeing too much from Brogan on the flat. They're saving that energy for those climbs, they're staying out of trouble, and they're staying in the draft, which is absolutely critical. So our riders down off the bridge once again, slightly rolling a road through town. But at the moment, coming up to that 18k mark, 17.9 under the wheels. The next segment starts at 19.5k. That is segment number 6. It's 3.5k long. And again, we get a really good indicator of how those riders are running. But as you can see, already through the first 2 parts of this course, through town, through the dunes, now coming back into the city, working our way through the city. We're about to hit segment 6 when we hit the 19.5k marker. That will take us almost to the end of that section, and then we'll be rolling up on to the mountains, onto the Jebel Hafit, up on to the climb out of Al Ain, and out from the UNESCO World Heritage Site, heading up into the climb of the mountains. And that is where we expect to see the decisive moves being made. So Novelin Kokoden along with Fernanda Hernandez on the right of your screen, trying not to lose too much ground to your race leaders on the left. Behind the riders on the right are still more riders chasing. You see them now coming up onto the screen. This is Gaviria, Elodie Reynard, along with Angel and Hadlock. Mashal Al-Hazmi in that group as well. Luz Cabona in that. They are going to be trying to close down on Kokoden. They're 25 seconds down. This is not insurmountable by any stretch of the imagination. So at the moment, 25 seconds behind. Then you can see taking a look at Fiona Schroeder. Schroeder has got company with Jenny Tan at the moment. It looks like Erin Poulton just dropping back a little bit till Elvira Wilhelm just being in touch. But you can see all these riders now well out and around the course. So Jenny Tan at the moment with Fiona Schroeder. The 2 riders continue to chase. Schroeder riding for the squad for the first category squad, just working her way in. As Fiona Schroeder looking very strong all race long. So Fiona Schroeder, the strong girls race rider. Jenny Tan riding for the team race team Cycle Zone Ladies 1. The duo of riders little down on the leaders, but plenty of riders they can catch on the way through. Don't forget, we've got that big mountain still to come, but looks like some more good rides. Remember, this is a qualifying race. Our riders have to qualify. They have to have those results verified. The verification system starts before they even start racing and runs right the way through, including the AI system that checks everything out constantly, learning and updating itself from the past results of our riders. Is not just based on FTP or a 20-second power or anything like that. It's a whole gamut of whole spectrum of results that are shown now. Next sector looks good, doesn't it? Looks innocuous, nice flat road. No, it's not. That big bank in front, the big grassy bank. It's got a climb, a drop, a second climb, and then a drop, and it is brutal. It is a real splitter. It can detach riders very quickly indeed. Now the riders have to work out, do they push into it? Do they save some energy going in at the moment? We just seen our 6 riders here all together. Brogan just distanced a little bit again off the back of this group. We're just taking a look up at the top here, and you can just see Brogan just sitting off the back of the group. Now this is either a really good training ride, because that's exactly what she's doing. She's putting in a lot of watts and a lot of effort on her own, or it could well be that she's looking to just save those matches, maybe just stretch her legs out of the back. It could be she's under pressure, having a tough time at the moment. It does come on the back of what's got to be her best race result. I think going back through the results broken, taking what was an amazing ride in on that the main final that came in. She was sprinting for the finish on the qualifiers, but to take second place in the prize money final, amazing. So second rider in through the line. Now, the chasers behind go through the sector. They're going to come in and through and start the climb in here. But the leaders at 20.4. The chasers just gone through. Kekkonen has just gone through with Hernandez. This is the chasing group. So Michelle Hasmi are now working their way through. Looking good at the moment. The chasing group of 5 are working well, but they're continuing to lose time on our leaders. Our leaders on the climb as into segment number 6 come the group number 3 on the road, the second of the chasing groups, second group with category 2 riders in. The leaders, though, already coming up towards the crest of the climb of that bank in front of the chasing group. On your left of your screen are the riders that were sandwiched between our leaders and the chasing group. You can see there's not a lot between these riders as they go through. They've just come underneath the sandy-coloured footbridge. You can just start to see in front of the riders in a group of 3. And Kekkonen and Hernandez here, I think they could be in trouble. They could well be seen. That gap, I think, has come down a couple of seconds. They're just holding them off, but with 2 riders doing the work, they're going to be working much, much harder. So 29 to 30 seconds it showed on the screen at the moment. They stretched out a little bit, in fact. So my apologies, just stretching out a little bit. So Hernandez and Nevelinda Kekkonen have stretched the gap a little bit, and that is great work when you've got 2 riders against 5. Now into this big climb. You've gone along the flat. You've really got into a rhythm. You start to hit the slope. That's when your legs start to hurt. That's when it really starts to take its toll on you. And that's when we get to find out who's feeling strong. We know Kekkonen always seems to be strong on the climbs. Will she be able to take Hernandez in towards the base of the climb? Can they work together on this climb? Now the 2 riders together. Kekkonen on the front with the white cap. The white helmet is Hernandez. Hernandez with the gloves on. But the 2 riders nicely matched on the way up here. And that's all about keeping that niceness with Hernandez sitting down at pedaling a really good res here. Fernando Hernandez with 106 her cadence. That's a super smooth pedal cadence that is really kicking it round. And a sign of a good climber. Meanwhile, up with the leaders, a slight split starting to appear here. And we've got Gemma Brogan, who's been starting about for a while, gone out the front with Golden Light with Elizabeth Van Heuling. And suddenly we're just seeing a little bit of a split. A response comes though. Quevedo, Adeline, Brommel, Gonzalez come up and chase, and the group comes back together once again. So the leaders are going through. 7 leaders at the front. 2 chasers behind Hernandez and Kekkonen, and then behind them the rest of that category 2 pack chasing category 2 honours on this sort of elevated roadway. They're still making their way up to the high point. Meanwhile, about to hit the descent, it's going to be Karut Quevedo, who is chasing Brommel and Gonzalez Roy. But the group essentially all together as they start to make their way onto this descent. It's a quick downhill section as they run back down to hit land once again. So here at the qualifier number 1 here in May on the Sunday Race Club on MyWhoosh. My name is Matt Payne, bringing you all of the action on our women's race. Don't forget you can catch up with all of our action on all of the races on Sunday Race Club on the MyWhoosh YouTube channel. Make sure you go onto YouTube and click on there. Don't forget you can give me a follow if you're on the computer as well. It's Matt Fix Payne on Swift as well as on MyWhoosh, and of course you can catch up with me on Facebook as well. Always good to see what our riders are doing and catch up with them from all of the broadcasts from things like the World Championships right the way through all of the disciplines. Lucky enough to put words to the action. And I gotta say, this morning's the earlier race that we saw in the men's race and this women's race, really aggressive, a little bit more tactical in the women's race with the group maybe a little bit more evenly matched. race with no dominant team in there, but we'll see what happens. I'm not going to give away any spoilers for the men's race, but please make sure you give it a watch as well. Lots of great action in there. The women's race is shaping up to be a cracker as we come in to the final sectors, because we are now at 22.9, about to hit 23 kilometers as we drop down the slope here, and this is going to be the end of the penultimate segment. So as they come through, nothing to split these riders. At the moment, Brogan's still low heart rate now. Look at Gonzalez again at low heart rate. Golden Light, well, absolutely pinging up there, but currently looking like a crazy heart rate up there, 170 already, and that makes you wonder if there's anything left in reserve for later on. That is very, very interesting indeed, because if you have to push it out even further, yes, some riders could go over the 200 marker, but there's a big difference in those heart rates coming through. Look at the watts going through. Brummel, 223 watts through that section. So really interesting to see our leaders through. 6 minutes and 12 to cover the penultimate segment. That's 3.5k long. The last segment coming in as we come in to the climb, starting at 28.8k. So in through the Ferrari showroom here in MyWhoosh, about to head out, and we are currently just about to hit that 24k mark, and this is where things start to get a little bit nervy, because our riders know that they've got a little bit too far to be able to sit up completely, but they want to just take a little bit of a breather. If you go hard everywhere, it's very, very easy to blow, very easy to used old commentator's phrase, burn too many matches. You can basically burn all of your fuel up, have nothing left when you need it on the climb. But some riders don't have the choice. Hernandez and Kekkonen, the two leading Category 2 riders, as we see Hernandez go through, Kekkonen is going to follow Hernandez and takes 8th spot at the moment. She gave away 20 seconds to the leaders on that segment. You can see 30 seconds being given away by Kekkonen. So Hernandez going through that segment 10 seconds faster in 3.5k. But 30 seconds being given away here by Kekkonen. And she's going to be in danger, because here comes the next group of chasers behind. It could all change on the climb. But here we go. Chasers coming in. Stephanie Gaviria going to lead them in through. She's going to get the fastest time in the category. Well, look at that. She goes in there faster than Kekkonen. They're 6 seconds quicker, so they pull back 6 seconds on Kekkonen in that 3.5k. But interestingly, they were still slower than Hernandez in that sector. So they're not pulling back time on Hernandez. They're losing time on Hernandez, but they are gaining time on Novalee and Kekkonen. That may well mean that if the group does come together in the final few K before the climb, that we're going to see that fight by everybody else for second place, as Hernandez is going to be entering that climb solo. But the gap is not substantial enough yet to make that count. 6:12 for our leader through. Going through, and you can see the riders that are behind her are going out to 6:42 for Kekkonen in 14th place. So our leaders, 24.9, and there's going to be jangling. This is where getting your fueling right counts. So I'm down in the studio at the moment. We got you can hear the bottle of Hydro Tassie refuel on board to keep me hydrated on the way through in what is a baking hot studio. But the riders are going to be generating a lot more heat riding than I do talking, and they need to replace those fluids, the salts, the minerals. They also need to fuel up. They're burning a prodigious amount of calories on the way through. They're going to need to be refueling on the way through, but they also want to give themselves a kick, something like an energy gel. Great instant hit of energy, but 20 minutes, it's gone. You've got to get your timing right. You've got to know when it goes. The last thing you want to do is to put it on board, get that big spike of energy, and then find that your fuel tank runs empty just before the top and everybody rides past you. Really demoralizing, says speaking from experience. Don't do it. Make sure you get the fueling right. And this is where it's key for all these riders, that in that point now where they know that they're coming in, they have about less than 10k in the case of our leaders, just over 10k for the chasers. Not a lot of distance left. That's 6 miles in Imperial money, and that is going to be very, very difficult to get the fielding spot on, because they know that they're going to have to motor up the climb, and they're going to need a lot of energy to do so. They won't want to lose places after working so hard so far for them. So a little bit further back down on the course, Fiona Schroeder has a company. It looks like it's going to be Tan, and going to be Hadlock in there. Just going to have a double check. Yes, it is. So it is Angeline Hadlock, Jenny Tan, Fiona Schroeder just squeezed their way into the garage. Going to be heading into that Ferrari garage. So 23.3k, so not that far behind the group in front. Remember, Elodie Reynard, the rider in front of the leader of this group, Jenny Tan, is 2 minutes 32 up the road. But that is group 3 on the road. If you count count Hernandez and Kekkonen as basically a chasing duo, and then the leaders. So the riders not that spread out, and those positions could change on the climb. You could well see a rider of the quality of Schroeder accelerating up that climb and really cutting through these second cat riders on the way through. Same with Jenny Tan. Up in front of her, you've got Elodie Reynard, you've got Luz Carbona, Michelle Hasmi, it looks like Leslie Ann Cordero in there. It is indeed, and Stephanie Gaviria. Now, of these, well, who's going to take the top spot? Very difficult. All of them very, very quick. But who is going to take top spot? LD Reynard put a good climb in up here in that category 2 competition last time. Don't forget that Danny Moore got promoted up to number 1, but I think they're starting to become aware that they have in front 27 seconds up the road, 26 seconds now, Kekkonen, and 30 seconds up the road. It is going to be Hernandez. So they're not that far off those wheels. They know that they could really put a push on and chase down, but they need to save energy for that final climb. And this is going to be a balance as they come into the finale, into the climb that will take them up to the upper slopes of the Jebel Hafit. Now, Hernandez has the gap, 17 seconds back to Kekkonen. 2 minutes, though, behind this group. That is going to take some doing. So Kekkonen at the moment are working well on her own, trying to close down Hernandez. Hernandez on her own has gapped Kekkonen. They're all chasing this leading group, a real who's who of MyWhoosh, top class stars up there. And it is Adeline Cavedo, like Gonzalez, Roy, Van Heulen, Brogan, all working well. Lisa Brummel on the front again. Brummel doing a lot of work on the front of that group. But it looks like everybody taking their turn now on the way through. This is where they start to think about what they're going to do when they get up on to the climb. It's going to be critical to get the climb nailed absolutely spot on. Get it wrong, make a mistake on there, burn too much energy too early, go too soon, you're in trouble. Let a group go, don't work hard enough to keep the gap down. You could equally be in trouble. So you can see at the moment our 2 big groups on the road. The leaders in category 1 on the left of your screen, the leaders in category 2 on the right of your screen. The category 1 leaders, though, about to start the final climb, taking the left-hand turn. They now enter that mountain stage. They're coming up on to the start of the Jebel Hafit instead of the miles of desert between the coast and the mountains at Al Ain. We have the wonders of MyWhoosh transporting us via the bridge, bringing us across. And that is one of the great things about riding on e-cycling. Our riders can be transported from one great point of interest to another, and we can do so with the bridges, with the elevated roadways, carrying our riders across. The leaders on the left now steadily and make the way across. The mountains will soon appear in front of them. They'll know that they've got this big kicker to come. Just on the right of your screen, this is the leaders in category 2. They're a little bit further back, currently sitting at 26.7k. But remember that when they hit 27.9, that is when they're going to go in. So we've got just over 1k to the base of the mountain now. Here come the leaders up onto the mountain. Who's feeling strong? Remember, we got Brummel, the rider who was 8th on the mountain last week. Gonzalez Road, the rider who was 7th on the mountain last week. Van Heuling, 4th on the mountain last week. Covedo, 3rd. Brogan, 2nd, all in the mix. So we've got Light in here as well. She was 11th last time. But Van Heuling has won 2 out of the qualifiers last month. Both mountain top finishes. Is she going to be able to do that here? Brogan, 2nd last time on here, and in the mix in the sprint. The pressure is on, and this is where we're going to see who's got legs, who was holding in and just hoping. Now, who can put the pressure on and go right up into the front? We're about to hit the start of Sector 7. This will take us from 28.8 all the way to 32.8, a 4K segment. It takes us within a few kilometers of the finish. Our rider's just coming through one of the UNESCO sites recreated here on MyWhoosh. And it looks like Lydia Adeline losing contact with the group. Don't look round, Lydia. They may be of historic world interest. The beehive tombs here at the start of the Jebel Hafid, but you haven't got time for sightseeing. You have to go there, out there and visit instead when you get to go out into the world and away from MyWhoosh, because MyWhoosh at the moment, the race leaders are starting to kick here with Lisa Brummel, Golden Line, Karuk Covedo, Dorothy Gonzalez Uria, all kicking. Brogan's in the mix as well. Adelaide is in trouble. It's down to 6 riders now on the front. They've gone from 7. We've gone down to 6. You can see all 6 on your screen at the moment as Lydia Adelaide just starts to be distant. She was second for a long time in last at qualifier number 1 at the start of April. We're now to the start of May. Qualifier 1. Adelina now starting to drop back. I think she's going to equal the position. She was 7th, I think, if I remember correctly, in race 1 on the qualifiers in April. She's likely to take that same position. She's not likely to get caught by Hernandez, but this is a long, brutal climb up here. No major steep sections, but it is definitely tough stuff with plenty of steps in this climb. It levels, it kicks, it levels and kicks, and it goes on for a fair way. We've got to get to 35k, remember, so 5.3 kilometers still to cover for our leaders. So Adeline at the moment now at about 100 meters, just seeing Van Heuling coming charging up onto that group from behind there after just dropping back a little bit. Just as the gradient leveled, this group have come back together. And this is one of the things that the riders really do need to get dialed and practice. They've got to nail this before they go into the finals. Their numbers when they're green and the watts, that's when they're in the draft. So what they need to do is use that draft to maximum effect. A lot of the riders will use it to slingshot. Get the timing right. Go back at the right time. Slingshot through the draft into a climb, and you will rocket up the first stage of the climb or over a rise like this without actually putting anywhere near as much energy in as the riders around you. But getting that slingshot right, it's a bit of a gamble. Get it right. It works fantastically. It will propel you out of the front of the group and make them work. But when you are further back down in the group, you can find that you are going to be in trouble, because if you are in trouble further back, you'll find yourself being distanced. And if you don't get it right, you'll go off the back, you'll not slingshot in, you'll just lose the draft, and then you've got to chase like crazy. And that is bad news, because you're burning a lot of energy to get yourself back in touch with the leaders. Now, Fernanda Hernandez, the chaser on the left of your screen, she is clear of the rest of the pack behind. Kekkonen has got absorbed in by the chasing group on the start of this climb, but you can see behind Hernandez on the left of your screen the riders coming. You can see in front of the riders on the right-hand side of your screen the chasers behind. This was going to come down to who can climb. Can she hold them off? Hernandez just goes over the top of the climb, and you can just see Michelle El-Hasmi is the rider who is putting the power on up that climb. She eases a little coming over the top, but you can just see Carmona continues to push. So you can just see this group are working to close down. This is the battle for the leading second category rider. Fernanda Hernandez and Conan were the two riders who were sat with the leaders for a long time. But it looks to me like Conan has been caught and is now absorbed into the group. They're making the way up towards Hernandez at the moment, who's 10 seconds in front according to the clock. I think that is going to be a lot less in real time on the screen, because as we can see, that gap is coming right down. But we have riders all the way out and around the course here at the climb of the Jebel Hafid. The leaders, though, into their last 4 kilometers now. As we go past that 31k mark, nothing to split this group. Karut Quevedo still in the mix. Meanwhile, in category 2, the chasers continue to try and close down. And it looks like Elodie Reina, Gaviria, Al-Hazmi, going through. Reina going through. Gaviria going through. Kokon is the rider in trouble, who is now starting with distance. And Novelin needs to push now. If Novelin pushes right at this moment, she will continue into this group. Now, look at Al-Hazmi go. She dropped into the slipstream. She's got Kokon pushing on up into this climb. And now the junction is going to be made, as we see Al-Hazmi straight up onto the wheel of Hernandez, using that draft very smartly indeed. She quickly settles in behind the rider in front, and this means she's going to now get a little bit of a touch. She's got to get numbers into that green marker, and that will mean that she's got on board. In fact, she's going straight past her here. So it looks to me like Michelle Al-Hazmi just leading from Hernandez, and Fernanda Hernandez needs to regroup and kick again here. She needs to get back in the mix, and look at this. Novelin Kokon has found some renewed strength here. She knows that the battle is on now for the first category 2 rider. It is between the riders in this group. Meanwhile, front group, the leaders now on the upper slopes. We're going to go across to the upper riders, to the leaders, as they come around this turn, because we're starting to see riders in trouble. Adeline went at the start of this climb. Brogan is sat on the back, but look at them. We are seeing this riders yo-yoing about at the moment. They're back together again. It's not going to be long till we see the next kicker. We come around this left-hand turn. It's going to rise again. And when that happens, expect to see that group split. Adeline, dispatched early from the group, is now a little bit further back behind. As you can see, the leaders take that lesser turn. Adeline on the steeper section, 4.9% as she goes up now. Now the leaders go, and Brogan is the rider at the back of this pack on the left of your screen. She squeezes on, though, and gets back in with them. There's nothing to choose between them. Now, it is so tight. Are we going to see a big attack? Is anybody dare go early, or are they going to leave it to the last sprint into the line? It's a risky tactic when you've got riders like Van Heuling and Brogan in there. We know Brogan can sprint. She took a great kick into the finish on qualifier number 3 on the flatter finishing course that we used for number 3 last time in April, but she's got to hold in to the finish, and she's doing a great job of doing that at the moment. So Elisa Brommel, Dorothea Gonzalez, Roy, followed by Golden Karut Quevedo in the mix, as well as Gemma Brogan. All these riders in the fight for the top placings as they come up the climb. Brogan riding for Spartan Obstacles, Quevedo riding for Spartan Obstacles, Heuling riding for Spartan Obstacles. Remember, Brommel is riding for the Strong Girls squad, as is Adeline, who's a little further back, and Fiona Schroeder, who we saw earlier. Don't forget, Gonzalez Ruiz is riding for Las Colombianas in the climb here in Golden Light, one of our individual riders. But the riders can see the segment end coming up. They know that this is not far to the top. The segment ends at 32.8K, and that means that they will have 2.2K to the finish when they hit this. Now, 2.2K is a doable distance on the flat if you hit it with enough pace. This is a climb, though, and that is a long way to go if you think you can hold them off. We've seen Van Heuling do it before, Has she got the power to do it again? Will it be Elizabeth Van Heuling from the United States who goes clear? They all come underneath the gantry. They're going to get their time on here. I think they are going to set a blistering time. They do sub 9 minutes up there for the 4K on this climb, and you can see that the watts per kilo very consistent between them on the way through. So really interesting to see, not too much between them. Lisa Bromwell having to put out the most watts to stay in that group at that pace. Dorothy Gonzalez-Roy, the rider who's got the least watts required and actually sets the fastest time through there. So our leaders in sub 9 minutes on that sector, coming up to 33 kilometers, 2,000 meters to go. Golden Light pushes on now. She's at 5.3 watts per kilo. So this is a big push now by Golden Light. She's gone to 5.1. She's sat at holding it just sub 5 at the moment. Van Heuling has gone onto a wheel, and Golden Light still sits at 4.5, 4.6 watts per kilo. Are we going to see another kick from her as they come up here? And he's going to be putting people on the ropes. Bromwell is being distanced, as is Quevedo. They're at about 1 second behind. They've got to squeeze back in quickly. They can't let that gap go. 1 second doesn't sound a lot, but it is brutal to close that down. They now close that gap out, though. And this is where it is going to be very, very decisive. This left-hand turn. We're on 4.3% at the moment, and all riders are all across the road at the moment. There's nothing to choose between any of our riders here. As they make the way up, we're riding with Elizabeth Van Heuling, the rider who has won on here before. In the first qualifier of April, she took 4th place. But remember, Brogan and Quevedo beat her. The riders in this group, the riders that have beaten her before, Quevedo on the front of the group, now drops to 3rd position. Brogan is sat in here as well. This might not be the final, the prize money final, but this is for the win here at qualifier number 1. We're into the last 1,400 meters, and the riders know that if they're going to put a late attack and not leave it for the sprint, they're going to need to do so fairly quickly. They can't afford to leave it too late. Once we get into the last 1,000 meters, last 1K, that is when things get very, very difficult to break away. And it's more likely that our riders will hold together and see who has got the timing to come in to the finish at the front of the pack. So following Golden Light at the moment, Golden Light, who took an 11th place last time out on the climb. She was our 9th first category rider coming in to the finish. Quevedo in here, Bromwell, as well as Gonzalez-Roy, Brogan in here, Van Heuling in here. Who's got the power? Who's got the pace? Who knows when to get the kick? Opened up 33.9K now. So 1.1 kilometers, less than 1.1K to the finish. These riders, they broke clear early on. They have steadily shed the riders on the way up this climb. But this is now about getting the pace right. Sonia Van Heuling has gone hard here. She went from the back at 5.8 watts per kilo, but she's been answered straight away by Quevedo. Quevedo has answered it with a 5.8 of her own. Now Van Heuling goes at 7.7 watts per kilo, and Van Heuling goes over the top. They've gone early. It's 800 meters to go. Can they hold on? Van Heuling at 7 watts per kilo. Quevedo is at 6.5. Golden Light is at 7. It is all left as play for on these last sweeping bends. This is a cruel section of road because you can't get out of sight. You can't get out of mind. This is about having the power to kick. Van Heuling still holding just over 7. We've seen it dip just sub 7, but holding over 7. Elizabeth Van Heuling with the gap. You can see the gap back. We're just in front, looking back at Van Heuling. 2 chasers behind. Golden Light in 2nd place. Quevedo in 3rd. Brogan in 4th. Gonzalez-Roy in 5th. Bromwell in 6th, and then it's a long way back to Adlin in 7th place. But the leader is Elizabeth Van Heuling. She took the win here in qualifier number 1. Can she do the same? Now Brogan puts another dig in here. Remember, Brogan was 2nd over the line, second to Jojo Bauer when they came in on the money finale. But at the moment, it looks to me like our leader, Elizabeth Van Heuning, has got her timing right. She's into the last 200 meters here on Sunday Race Club, here live on the MyWhoosh YouTube channel. And we are going to see if she can hold this to the line. She's 13 seconds clear. She can stop and have an ice cream on the way up this baking hot mountain as she comes into the finish. It's Elizabeth Van Heuning. She's won both the first qualifiers, the Q1 last time and this time. Karuk Cavedo comes through, shows that it was no fluke that third place in the final last time. Who's going to get the next spot? It's Brogan. This is why they didn't want to toss it. Oh, to the line. That's going to be tight because you just saw Golden Light sprint in as well. Then it's going to be Dorothy Gonzalez-Rue. They're going to have 30 seconds through. It's going to be so tight between fourth place there. Let's have a look at the screens. Oh, look at that. Golden Light may well have just pipped at Gemma Brogan. That'll go to the count back, that is for sure, because we have Van Heuning leading. Karuk Cavedo coming in 8 seconds behind. And then 13.573 was Golden Light. 13.63 seconds was Gemma Brogan. Brogan put the sprint in. She went past Light. Light kicked again. Great finish by then Golden Light. Put another good ride in here. Then Brogan. Then Gonzalez-Rue comes in at 25 seconds down. It's going to be following in after that. It'll be Lisa Brommel of the Strong Girls team. The Spartan Obstacles will take the team prize. Nobody's going to touch Van Heuning, Cavedo, and Brogan. They are in first, second, and fourth place, separated only by Golden Light in third. Las Colombianas, so with Dorothy Gonzalez-Rue goes in fifth place. The Strong Girls rider Lisa Brommel goes in sixth position. Seventh, well, it is Lydia Adlin. She's got this long sweeping section before the right-hand turn in towards the finish to complete. But an amazing ride. And again, it was about brinkmanship. It was about knowing when to kick. Van Heuning getting her timing spot on. She attacked once. She came through at pace. She was answered by Golden Light. She kicked again. She then held that pace and then put in a final punch to take it clear and then could hold that pace to the line behind Golden Light and Co. All having to fight for those final positions because it was really down to who was feeling the strongest as they came in towards the finish, with Karuk Cavedo showing that she was a super strong finisher, taking that second place. Then Golden Light in third, Gemma Brogan in fourth, Gonzalez-Rue in fifth, then Lisa Brommel in sixth place. A very, very fast race there. The winner's time, 1 hour, 4 minutes and 0.564 of a second. And you can see the rider coming in there with 3.3 watts per kilo. Not the most, the biggest power per kilo, but that is generally a sign of riding smart. It is about saving that. The key is to not expend too much power when you don't need it. Don't burn too much, save it for the right time. And the timing was definitely right for Elizabeth Van Heuning of the Spartan Obstacles team, who will take away not just the race win, second place and fourth place, but they'll also take away the team win here today in qualification race number 1 of the Sunday Race Club live here on the MyWhoosh YouTube channel. Don't forget, of course, that you can join me at any time by picking up and subscribing to the YouTube channel. You can watch back all of the races. I recommend watching back at the women's final from last time and the men's final. So we will watch Lydia Adlin come in to the line. She's going to take 7th place after being in that leading group as they come in to the finish. Remember, the battle still continues for the riders behind it in the second category racing. And they are on the way up the climb. That has been an enthralling race all the way through. The question will be who is going to take it. We saw Hernandez and Kekkonen go clear on the early climbs. It looks like they've done so again. Don't forget, if you want to see if they make it, make sure that the riders that you watch on the results, go on to mywhoosh.com. Go check out the results. You can see the splits, the teams, the overall. They will show unofficial or official. Basically, they are unofficial until all of the riders' results have been verified as being accurate. So whether you've got a fault on the turbo trainer, whether the humidity changes, whether somebody turned on a microwave nearby that caused your turbo trainer to whiz around 3 times as fast as normal, don't forget that is all going to affect it. So what we'll do, they all verified, and then it is official. Now, the final sprint into the line. Is Kokkonen going to get this? She is. It's going to be, I don't want to hold my breath here. Oh, that was tight. It is Hernandez who takes it just on the line. No, she won it. The fella at Kokkonen takes second place. Fernanda Hernandez takes a top spot. They were separated by 0.2 of a second on the way through. So Hernandez takes top spot in the second category competition. Kokkonen takes third. Just a reward after that breakaway that was closed down. They kicked again. Then it's Lutz Kimona leading through, taking the 10th spot from Elodie Reynard. For the full results, make sure you go onto MyWhoosh.com and catch up with all of the results. Make sure you register, download the app, and if you are ready to join nice and early, get registered for the event. Next race next weekend on Sunday, and we continue right through to the end of the month. So from me, Matt Payne, from everyone at MyWhoosh, thank you for watching. Shuvkum ala khair.